Hi everyone, welcome back to Avalanche Storytime, brought to you by Bender's Bar and Grill.
This is Jim Armstrong, former sports columnist at the Denver Post. These days, I own Bender's up in Westminster in the Westminster Promenade Ice Center. If you don't think we're the preeminent hockey bar in the metro area, you haven't seen the framed Original Six jerseys above the bar. We have poutine on the menu. That must make us a hockey bar. All kinds of good stuff on the menu. Come on up to Bender's and check us out.
I'm your host, Adrian Dater, and today we're going to go back to September of 2001. Now, this is not necessarily a very happy story here, obviously, as we'll find out, but in the annals of Avalanche history, this was a very unique, big week that happened. I want to go back to September 9th of 2001, when the Avalanche, myself, other members of the NHL staff, all went to Sweden for a combination of what was supposed to be a happy Avalanche training camp and also a series of exhibition games against European teams in Sweden, and also another one planned for Finland. September 9th, 2001, I flew from Denver to Sweden through New York with a connection in Newark, flew right over the World Trade Center, and remember looking exactly down on them, thinking, wow, there they are, the Twin Towers. As we all know, 2 days later, it was a very dark, awful day in world history. September 11th happened. Now, we were all in Sweden just thinking that we're going to be there for a fun camp. The Avalanche, by the way, as we all remember, had just won a Stanley Cup. This is a fun time where the Avalanche were going to be in Sweden promoting the game and also playing games in front of Peter Forsberg's home people that he grew up playing in front of. They were going to play Peter Forsberg's Swedish team, Modo, in an exhibition game. Peter was going to play against them. It was all going to be great. Well, September 11th happened, and obviously changed everything. Now, the Avalanche were supposed to go to the American Embassy that night, September 11th, for a visit with Swedish people who were in the embassy there. Obviously, that was canceled. But what happened after the awful events of that day, I remember it was a Tuesday. I was sitting there writing a story about Václav Nedorost. I remember as a rookie. My wife came in and said, turn on the TV. And we had a little TV in this hotel room in Sweden. Obviously, the rest of the day was a blur. The Avalanche, though, couldn't come back from Sweden. Basically, the decision was made for the Avs to stay in Sweden, continue training camp, and see what happened from there. Nobody really exactly knew what was going to go on, because this was also an NHL event. These games were sponsored by the NHL and American Airlines. That was the other sponsor of this whole thing. When the 9/11 happened, we didn't necessarily know what to do with ourselves anymore. The players, everybody was just sitting around the hotel sort of awaiting word on what we would all do next. Well, because there was no air travel allowed in those next few days, the Avalanche had to stay there. They actually ended up practicing certain days after that. They wound up playing an exhibition game about 4 nights later. If you look it up, it's the Avalanche are the only professional sports team to ever play a game professionally at all in that next few days. The Avalanche against a Swedish team named Brynäs that we all went to. We all watched the game. Nobody wanted to play it. Nobody wanted to be there at all, really. But there was no way to get back to Sweden. Okay, now the other thing that happened during this week. Roughly a day or so after 9/11 happens, Peter Forsberg lets the team know, announces that he's going to take a sabbatical from the team. His foot, he was just starting to have the major foot problems that would plague him the rest of his career. I'll never forget sitting there, shell-shocked as it was from the events of 9/11. Now we get a press release saying Peter Forsberg to take a leave from the team. So this became a major story, obviously, with the team. I had to go and cover it. Peter Forsberg and Peter Forsberg, Pierre Lacroix, the GM, and Rick Sadowski, the Rocky Mountain News, we all sat in a room while Peter did a conference call, the rest of the North American media, him explaining why he was going to take some time off. So needless to say, folks, this was not a fun week. This is not very good memories for me at all, or anybody who was there. Sweden 2001. The Avalanche ended up coming back finally on Stan Kroenke's private plane about September 15th, I believe. We all flew. Stan Kroenke took the NHL staff that was there, many of whom lived in New York, so they were freaked out the whole time. He flew everybody back from Sweden to Denver with a stop in Newfoundland, where people got off there who were going back to New York. Stan Kroenke was very generous to do that. To this day, people who were there remain grateful to him for allowing people like us, media, to come back when we really had no other way to get back. So this was a tumultuous week, but something that happened, and it was a week that had such grand hopes that ultimately were completely nullified and ruined because of a terrible world event. So sports and world events often collide. This was one of them. Jesus, coming on 17 years ago, still seems like yesterday in a lot of ways, but it's thankfully something that is further in our rearview mirror every day. That's about going to do it this week for Avalanche Storytime. I'm Adrian Dater. Please visit Bender's Bar and Grill when you can. Check out their awesome poutine that they have. Hockey fans, you can't get poutine anywhere. Most places in Denver will not serve you poutine. They don't even know what poutine is. Go to Bender's Bar and Grill, have yourself some poutine. Hockey season's coming right around the corner. We'll be telling a lot more happy stories as time goes on. Thank you for watching. I'm Adrian Dater for BSN Denver.
If you're a football fan or a hockey fan, you got to check out Bender's off of Highway 36, just off of Church Ranch Boulevard. 32 beers on tap, served in chilled glasses. We're a watch site for Coloradans for Nebraska and Steeler Nation of North Denver. So if you're a Husker fan or a Steeler fan, you're a recent transplant to Denver, come on up to Bender's and check us out.